Well, hello, everyone. I'm Doc Hogg, and welcome to Comics and Variety Midday. Today, I am going to be giving you my election prediction for tomorrow. Will it be Biden? Will it be Trump? But first, I do want to mention that. Hang on just a second. Let me check something here and make sure that I have. Yes, well, hello. Do have audio. Wonderful. Yeah, let me just start by saying that Tilt Part 2 is rocking along. We're at $1,716, 48 backers, and I'm not even really 25% of the way into my campaign yet. Almost 25% of the way in, but 25% of the way in and 42% there, and only $4 from 43%. Believe me, you count every little percent when you're running one of these. So, yeah, things are looking good, and please do back it. The link to it is in the description below. Okay, before we get started on my election prediction, I do want to mention that and I put a link to this in the description below as well. Clint Stoker, How the Election Will Hurt Your Hobby. This is kind of an interesting it's an interesting video, and I would take a look at it in particular because he's got some good advice, I think, toward the beginning of the video, but the rest of it's kind of interesting as well. Okay, now, let me start by basically saying here that the person that I think is going to win tomorrow, I hope I'm wrong. And I will tell you that tomorrow I'm going to go into the voting booth and vote for Donald Trump. So via a process of elimination, you can figure out who I think is going to win. Yes, I do think Joe Biden is going to win, and I will explain here in a bit. I think the odds are 60-40 in favor of Biden. Does that mean I think Biden's going to get 60% of the vote? No, I think it's going to be relatively close, probably 5 to 6 points at most. But I think if you were to make betting odds, I think 60% Biden, 40% Trump. And that, 40% Trump doesn't leave him out of it. But here's something I just wanted to start off with this from S.E. Cupp. She's a commentator on CNN. She is known as being a conservative, but she's a never Trumper. Let's just watch this real quick here.
Welcome to Unfiltered from Home. I'm S.E. Cupp. It's less than a week before the election, and I don't know about you, but I'm having some alarming flashbacks. In the final stretch of October 2016, Hillary Clinton had a 12-point lead over Trump in an ABC News tracking poll. In an Associated Press GFK poll, she had a 14-point lead. And check out this New York Times headline from October 2016. Hillary Clinton has a 91% chance to win. Now, here we are, just as we were back in October of 2016, with nearly every poll telling us Donald Trump is likely to lose. A brand new CNN poll conducted by SSRS has Joe Biden up by double digits nationwide over Trump. And Biden has consistently led Trump in every CNN poll since 2019. While that should make Joe Biden and his supporters optimistic, the specter of 2016 looms large. And I have an uneasy feeling about what may happen again. I remember the final weeks of the 2016 campaign very, very well. I was covering it, much like this one, following the polls, talking to very smart people, most of whom seemed certain it was Clinton's to lose. Now, of course, there were folks who disagreed. They said there was a silent majority of Trump supporters who weren't reflected in the polling. And I always agreed, Trump voters were underrepresented.
Now, Trump voters were underrepresented last time. My understanding is a lot of pollsters goofed by not counting enough white people who did not have college educations. But here's the thing, all right, and one of the main reason I think that Biden has about a 60% chance of winning is that the Real Clear Politics, which tracks most of the nationwide polls, gives Biden an average 6.5-point lead. This is where Clinton was at right before the election on the Real Clear average here. She was at 3.2%. So Biden has more than double the lead that Clinton does. And Could Trump overcome that? Yes. I will point to this here. This is 538, Nate Silver. He says, I'm here to remind you that Trump can still win. That said, I mean, things are different this time. Not only does Biden have, really double the average, his average lead is double that of Clinton's. We have the pandemic, the coof, and uh, I don't. I think that's. Let me back up here real quick. I think if this was early January, with the economy roaring along the way it was, I think Trump would win this election without too much trouble. It might be close, but I don't think it would ever have been in much doubt. But the problem is that I think kind of what's happened here is his leadership on the coronavirus, which, while I don't think it's been that bad, it has at times been bad. I think people were looking for a leader who could be non-combative, who could be calming, reassuring, and Trump is not that leader. He's always, looking to pick the next fight, and I think that's kind of what has hurt him, and I think that has probably driven away some moderates that he may need. So, if I had to bet money at this point, I'd bet Biden, even though, like I said, I'm going into the polling booth tomorrow and pulling the lever for Trump. Now, there is one article, and I linked the Nate Silver piece. I think I linked SE Cup if you want to take a look. I might not have linked that in the description below, but I did link the Nate Silver piece. It's an interesting read. Here's another interesting read, and this is why the main reason I give Trump a 40% chance. This is from National Review from about 2 weeks ago. The upstart Trafalgar Group doesn't see 2020 the same way everyone else does. If you are a firm believer in polling averages, this isn't particularly meaningful, but if you're familiar with Trafalgar's success in 2016, when, unlike other pollsters, it had Trump leading in Michigan and Pennsylvania, and in 2018, Ron DeSantis winning his gubernatorial race, it is notable. Regardless, it's worth knowing why one pollster is departing from nearly everyone else. Yes, it is. To this end, I checked with Robert Cahaly, who is predicting a Trump victory on the last edition of the Editor's Podcast. The piece is based on our conversation. Cahaly was born in Georgia, got involved in politics going door to door as a kid. He started with a political consulting firm with some others in the late 1990s. Around 2008, he says they realized the polling they were getting wasn't very good, so they started doing their own. He says they got good, accurate results in the races they were working. In the 2016 primaries, they started putting out some of their own polls. Our polls ended up being the best ones in South Carolina and Georgia, so we started studying what it was that made those so different. Then there was the breakthrough in the 2016 general election. We ended up having an incredible year. I mean, we got Pennsylvania right. We got Michigan right. We had the best poll in the 5 of the battleground states in 2016. We actually predicted 306 to 232 on the Electoral College. And we went down, we went from doing a little bit of polling on the side to that being our primary business in about 24 hours. And since then, that's what we've been doing. All right. Much of Trafalgar's approach focuses on accounting for the so-called social desirability bias. As Cahaly puts it, that's when a respondent gives you an answer that is designed to make the person asking the question be less judgmental of the person who answers it. So in other words, the person who's responding to the poll is worried about how the pollster may think of them, which you might think is weird, but supposedly that does happen. Cahaly notes that this phenomenon showed up as long ago as the 1980s in the so-called Bradley effect, when the African-American mayor of Los Angeles, Tom Bradley, underperformed his polling in a gubernatorial race. Supposedly in that race, people were afraid of the pollster thinking they were racist and so they said they were voting for Bradley instead of the Republican candidate who eventually won, George Duke Mason. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But it is in a hallmark of the Trump era and is one of the reasons other pollsters missed the impending victory of DeSantis over Andrew Gillum in the 2018 Florida gubernatorial race. I've got to get past what you want to say in public and get to what you really feel, Kahali says, because what's in your heart is going to be what's on that ballot. There's a number of methodological differences in how Trafalgar goes about its work. One is the number of questions on its survey. I don't believe in long questionnaires, Kahali says, etc. Why does that matter? You end up disproportionately representing the people who will like to talk about politics, which is going to skew toward the very, very conservative and the very, very liberal and the very, very bored, Kahali explains. And the kind of people that win elections are the people in the middle. So they miss people in the middle when they do things that way. According to Kahali, most polls are more than 25 questions. He keeps it between 7 and 9 so respondents can answer in a matter of minutes. Then there's how the questions are asked. We do not like to do all live calls. This goes back to the social desirability bias. People with opinions that are unpopular don't want to be judged by somebody on the phone they don't know. If this was always true, it's particularly so now. They've seen all this stuff of people being shamed for the opinion, people losing their jobs. Cancel culture, So Trafalgar mixes up how it contacts people and especially wants respondents to feel safe in responding. We use collection methods of live calls, auto calls, texts, emails, and a couple that we call our proprietary digital technology that we don't explain, but it's also digital. The point, he continues, is to really push the anonymous part. This is your anonymous say-so. Another factor is that conservatives are less likely to participate in polls in general. And so this thing goes on, but basically he sees that Kahali and Trafalgar sees that Trump is likely to win. Do I believe that? Well, maybe a little bit, because I think there is a lot of that going on. And this is an exchange I had on Facebook a few weeks ago. That, look, I don't really care what this person. I was basically responding to what a friend of mine had written on his Facebook page, and I was basically saying I was voting for Trump, but I was just wondering how much he was going to lose by. And this guy fired back at me, basically asking, did I like his, what did I like? The kids in the cages or, something else. And then my friend responded, and then this guy responded, and I'm not showing any names here. I'm not going to mention names. I don't want to. Indifferent to his writing, commenting on his vote. You vote for a racist, you're a racist. You vote for a sexual assaulter, you're a sexual assaulter. You vote for a criminal, you get the drift. I'm all out of F's to give with these people. I cannot feign ignorance. Your friend David knows Trump betrayed Kurds to their slaughter. Your friend knows he's a racist to the core. Actually, I don't know that. He's against illegal immigration. Okay. What else has he done? People say, well, they were good people on both sides. If you ever look at that entire quote, Trump condemned the white supremacists. All right. That has been taken out of context more times than you care to admit. Your friend David knows just yesterday his preferred candidate denied federal disaster relief to an obvious disaster because he's not popular. I think what he's referring to there was the initial denial by FEMA to California disaster aid for California's fires. And that decision was reversed. David knows Trump mocks the disabled. Actually, no, he doesn't. That is also, he mocked a reporter, but the way he mocked him is something that Trump has mocked many people that same way. David knows Trump grifts. All right, you get the idea here. And he's still going to vote for him. It is past time that we all grow up and hold one another and ourselves accountable for the choices we're making. One thing I fired back was, well, given that Joe Biden there's a credible charge of sexual assault against Joe Biden, who are you voting for? David is not an uneducated yokel or unaware of the facts. He is choosing to embrace them. He should own that. So, when you're getting this kind of stuff, and I think a lot of people have gotten this on social media, they may be afraid to tell a pollster that they're voting for Trump. And maybe there is a significant amount of that in showing up in the polls. And it's a possibility. I don't think it is that likely. I mean, I think it's going to reduce the gap in some of the polls. Well, I think it will reduce the ultimate election gap between Biden and Trump. So I think it's going to be relatively close. But this is why afraid to tell pollsters that you're voting for Trump is one reason I give Trump about a 40% chance. But I think Biden's got enough of a lead at this point that I think he's going to win, and so I'm giving it 60% chance to Biden, 40% chance to Trump. Like I said, I'll vote for Trump tomorrow. I hope I'm wrong. And I'll talk more about, either way, what happens on Wednesday. I'll talk a little bit about why I like Trump. I'll talk a little bit about what I thought some of his faults were, and and so forth. But yeah, I have to say, unfortunately I do think Biden is going to win, and it's too bad because, like I said, I will discuss that more on Wednesday on CNV Midday. Tomorrow, we'll be having a very early edition of Comics and Variety Indie Comic Stream. I'm probably going to be reviewing this comic, Chango. And my guest will be, oh boy, hang on here. Let me remember who my guest is going to be here. Hold on. I don't want to Yeah. Hang on a second. Let me find out who my guest will be. And yeah. Sorry about that, gentlemen. I should have known that when I came on here, ladies and gentlemen. And my guess is going to be Run Cutter Comics. He'll be talking about Butch Cleaver. So that'll be my guess for tomorrow. And again, just one more time, Tilt is still available for backing. So yeah, do back Tilt if you haven't. And yeah, that's all for now. Until next time, have a very nice day. And tomorrow, be sure to vote early and vote. Just vote early. Okay.